G'day guys, today I have the pleasure of showing off the brand new Scrappy Scavengers beta. This update is fresh out of the oven and has a bunch of quality of life improvements, as well as a part 2 of a boss, which I don't think we've had before. We have a new mini biome, bunch of new items, and some huge late game improvements that just change the way that you're going to play the game. So today I'm going to go through all of the noteworthy changes in this update. There's so much to cover that I won't be able to go through absolutely everything today. I'll leave a link in the description for the full patch notes, so feel free to check that out yourself. I'm going to start by quickly going through some changes to the skill trees. First of all, it takes less than half the amount of time to gather all of the points necessary for the full 15 skill points. Wigfrid's skill tree got a few minor buffs. Wormwood gets 5 planar damage and defense for his Lunar Guardian skill, as well as buffs for summoning multiple salamanders or light bugs. The rate of health gain is also increased from his photosynthesis skill, and he also blooms faster when fertilizing with the appropriate skill. Willow's also gotten a bit of a buff with the Lunar Fire Razor skill getting better targeting, and now it does more damage as well and can be aimed without moving. The patch up skills have also been buffed significantly for the Willows that rely on burning. And when we get into the actual game, we have to start by looking at the brand new Junkyard. Now this is a small area that you find somewhere around the world with piles of junk that you can rummage in. More often than not, you'll just get scrap or maybe gears or a potato. But there are also creatures you can find in here, multiple potatoes. I would recommend wearing armor when rummaging through because the creatures will immediately attack you. You don't get a chance to escape. So out of all of the junk piles here, I got 4 scrap, 2 potatoes, 3 rocks, some doodads, a blueprint, and 2 logs. I mean, they call it junk for a reason. It's not the greatest loot, but you're not here for the loot. One thing you are here for is this broken Wobot. Now we'll come back to this later because you need a fairly late game item to repair it, but this is going to be really handy. There's also this massive teetering junk pile, and if you rummage there, it'll start to reveal our good buddy the Nightmare Werepig. I don't know how he got himself upstairs, let alone trapped in a pile of junk. Unlike in the caves, if you free him, he's not actually hostile, he just kind of walks around. Gives you more junk that you can rummage through if you are so inclined. And then if you hit him, he arms himself and gets aggressive. He has this ranged weapon that he fights with, and when he uses that a few times, he has this charged attack as well. The swipe attack you can dodge by running far enough out of its range, and the lunge attack is more or less like the one he does downstairs. You just have to go from side to side. It can still be pretty hard to dodge. It's got a pretty hefty range, so I would recommend using some kind of speed boost beyond just a walking cane. He also throws a boulder at you every now and then. But besides that, those are really his main attacks. He doesn't really change it up as he goes. Once he gets lower in health, he can do both at the same time, kind of like he does downstairs as well. But it's fairly similar to that the whole way through. When you kill him, he drops a bunch of junk, as well as the Horizon Expandinator, which lets you see a little bit more. I don't know about you guys, but I already have a mod that more or less does this, so I don't really see the use of a hat like this unless you're playing on console, I suppose. But it's cool to have nonetheless. It's not exactly a bad item. It is a little disappointing that that seems to be the only thing you get out of this fight. This is a beta though, and I'm sure that things will change as they go. He eventually despawns and will respawn again in, I assume, 20 days, because that seems to be the respawn timer for pretty much every boss in this game. and you can do the fight again if you so please. You can just rummage through this every so often to get rocks and doodads and things like that. It's pretty cool. And if you fight this guy after you kill Celestial Champion, he pulls out a laser. Which is very nasty if you get hit by it. I would not recommend. He does that attack alongside his regular 2 attacks. And as far as I can tell, there doesn't seem to be any additional benefit you gain from killing him in this state. So I would not recommend it. Maybe they will add something to it later, but for now it's the same. Just a little bit more challenging. You can still dodge it by just getting further away. So it's not a huge game changer. But what's with the Woebot, I hear you ask? In order to repair this broken Woebot, you will need to have already killed Celestial Champion, because you need to find a blueprint for the automechanic within these abandoned junk things that Wagstaff leaves. I've just spawned a bunch of it here. But with one automechanic, you can fully repair the broken Woebot into just a regular Woebot. And there he is. If you've played Oxygen Not Included, you'll notice that he kind of functions like Sweepy. He basically just chucks some items in a chest, and he will go and fill them up for you. So I'll put some grass in that one, I'll put some logs in that one, and he'll just go around and collecting all that stuff for you. Anything that's nearby. His range isn't huge. It's just a handful of tiles in every direction. I don't know the exact number, but he gets the job done. Unfortunately, at this point, I don't think there's a way to get multiple of these guys. So it would be useful if you have a chest zone in a specific area, and then when you get home to drop off items, you can literally just chuck them all on the floor and have him run around and collect them all for you. But for those of you with a really, really huge base, he's not going to be able to clean it all up for you. You will still have to do some of the work yourself, unfortunately. But still, I love him very much. You will have to repair him again after a few days, but it's well worth it to have another robot companion. And this blueprint is not the only thing you can find in the junk piles now. You can also find a blueprint for the new Elastispacer, which although is quite expensive with an enlightened shard, 2 pure brilliance and some scrap, I think you'll find that this is well worth the price. Because what you could do with this is expand a regular chest into this long boy chest over here with the same amount of slots, but you can fit more in them. As you can see, you can actually fit an infinite amount of items in a single spot, as long as it's the same item, of course. And when I mean infinite, this is infinite. It will just go on forever. As far as I'm aware, there is no limit. Like you could see, it says 999 plus. I don't even know how many gears there are in there. Okay, there are 1070. So gone are the days where you need dozens of chests for logs or boards or rocks. You can just make one, upgrade it, and have 9 infinite stacks of a particular of resources. An incredible change. Another really neat addition in this update is the ability to quickly refine logs in the sawhorse. Just give it a full stack and it will instantly turn them into boards. You can also now open containers straight from your inventory, like the Polar Beggar bin, the Spectacular box, or the Tackle box. Unfortunately, this is not the case for bundling wrap, and that still opens on the floor, but very handy additions. And if you thought that was cool, take a look at the new embalming spritz, which you can make, which seems expensive because it needs 3 beeswax, 5 pure horror, and some mosquito sacks. But this will essentially freeze any living vegetation, plants, trees, shrubs, bushes, and it'll freeze it into a state where it can't be touched. It can't be infected, it can't be burnt, it can't be petrified, it won't lose leaves. It's stuck like that. Purely decoration from that point on. And this thing has 50 uses. So this tree will never grow. These berries will never be taken. That will never wither. It's a base builder's dream. There's also apparently a performance increase for bases with many items collected in a small area, which pretty much describes my base to a T. A lot of items just sitting on the floor. So that is a welcome addition. There are also a few mushroom related items, including this new lunar fun cap, which completes the set of fun caps by generating these lunar spores that can damage nearby creatures. These are the same spores that you see dropping from the mush gnomes in the grotto. I don't see this being a particularly useful strategy, but it's just kind of cool to have the completed set. There's also a stuffed nightcap, which is a meat dish that makes the eater fall asleep. Again, I don't know if this will be particularly useful. You can eat it yourself if you like, but it's nice to have it, I suppose. Also, this hat makes you immune to these spores. So if you go into the grotto wearing the hat, then you can fight the mush gnomes a little easier, I suppose. Rot now dissolves if it's on the ground when it's raining, which is pretty nice because I know that it's one of those things that just builds up in any world over time. There it goes. The construction of the lunar siphonator also requires a few less restrained statics, instead being replaced by scrap, which is very handy. It means you don't need to do the moonstorm as many times to kill Celestial Champion, and you will need to kill Celestial Champion more to craft some of the new items, so that is a very welcome change. In other news, miasma from the Shadow Rifts now spreads a bit quicker. I don't know what kind of difference this will make in the grand scheme of things, but it does. And to go with the acid rain that comes from these rifts, you can now craft a slimy salve made of healing salves, niter, marble and slurtle slime that gives you half a day of acid rain resistance, which is pretty cool. On top of this, certain mobs in the caves are affected by acid rain in different ways. Some actually get stronger while others get weaker. Unfortunately, it's not super clear exactly which mobs are affected in which way, but perhaps this will be made more obvious as the beta progresses. Acid rain will also not fall in the grotto or archives, and acid bats will now seek you out if you have a lot of niter on you for some reason. Also, if you try to build the odd skeleton now near an active gateway and a shadow atrium, it will always be the correct formation. I haven't activated this atrium yet, but I just got lucky, I guess. Which is pretty neat and means you don't need a hammer. Another really weird change is you can now slip on ponds and ice. I don't know why this is a thing, but it's so funny. If you stop moving while you slip, you don't fall. And it doesn't actually hurt you, of course, but... yeah, I really don't know why this is a thing, but I am so glad that it is. There is also an increased drop rate of broken shells from shell bells and cookie cutter shells from killing cookie cutters. So, good day for those of you who like shells, I suppose. Rockjaw also drops barnacles, flint, and rocks on top of the fish meat that he used to drop. And that's all of the main stuff for this update. Like I said, there are a bunch of other details that I haven't mentioned that you can go through the update notes if you're interested in. I'm sure more will continue to be updated as the beta progresses, so keep an eye on the forums. Let me know what you think about the update. I think this is a really exciting step for people who like to build big bases like me, and people who like to hoard a lot of junk like me. So yeah, I like this update. I would also like to give a small shout out to those of you who have supported me on Ko-fi and Patreon. Really appreciate you guys. In future, I would like to move more towards Ko-fi than Patreon because they take less of your money and I feel like that's important. But thank you to everyone who has supported me on either platform. I really appreciate you very much. Make sure to connect your account if you're in my Discord and I will give you a shiny roll for that as thanks. I was thinking of making a little update video to kind of let you guys know what has been happening on the channel and what my plans are for this year, so maybe expect that in the near future. Otherwise, I'm streaming fairly regularly, so feel free to drop by the stream and say hi. Otherwise, I will see you around. Take care.